I'd like to share with you a beautiful story that I heard from Rebel Weinschlita. It couldn't possibly be a better Hagama to our discussion about Parshas Bamidbar. He says he was a Shari Chesed in the Beis Medrash, and over there you had Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, the greatest Paisik Hadar probably at that time. He was surrounded by some of his Talmidim, some of his closest Talmidim who would debate halachic issues, some Rabbonim that came from different parts of Eretz Yisrael to discuss things with him. But in quantity of people, sum total, you had 9 people over there in the Beis Medrash, and they were waiting to daven mincha. So you had over here some of the greatest Geonim, greatest Paiskim, greatest Tzadikim in Eretz Yisrael. But there were only 9 of them. And the street cleaner walked in. He finished sweeping his last street, he came into daven mincha, and Rav Shlomo Zalman stood up and said, Baruch Hashem. Now we have a minyan, now we can daven. Now you can say Yiskad over Yiskad Shnei Rabbah. You couldn't beforehand. Think about this for a moment. It's a mind-boggling thought. You can have Avram Avinu, Yitzchak Avinu, Yaakov Avinu, Moshe Rabbeinu, Aaron HaKohen, Yosef HaTzadik, David HaMelech in a room, together with Shlomo HaMelech and Shmuel HaNavi. And you can't say Kaddish. You are not permitted to daven B'tzibur until the street cleaner walks in, until you have that 10th year, at least down here in this world. And that is why Parshas Bamidbar is always read the week before Shavuot. Because Parshas Bamidbar is where we count Klal Yisrael, where we count all of Klal Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Su'u et roish kol hagaften Yisrael mishpachaysam lebeisavaysam kasher tziva Hashem es Moshe vayivkedein b'midbar Sinai. Fragt the Kedushas Levi, let's type these words. Kasher tziva Hashem es Moshe, as Hashem commanded Moshe, it was done. Vayivkedein b'midbar Sinai, he counted them in Midbar Sinai. Should it have not been in the order of first, Vayivkedein b'midbar Sinai, he counted them in Midbar Sinai, and then the pasuk should conclude, Kasher tziva Hashem es Moshe, as Hashem commanded Moshe. Zok the Kedushas Levi, Hashem Yisbarach gave the Torah to Klal Yisrael. The neshamas of Klal Yisrael are the Guf HaTorah. The acronym for the word Yisrael are Rashi Teivos, Yesh Shishim Ribu Yos Yisrael Torah. There are approximately 600,000 letters to the Torah. Every Yid in Klal Yisrael is a letter in the Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu's counting of Klal Yisrael was a counting of the letters of the Torah. Zok the Kedushas Levi, the pasuk wants to stress over here. Kasher tzivu Hashem es Moshe. You want to understand the Torah that Hashem commanded to Moshe, so vayivkedein b'midbar Sinai. Count Klal Yisrael of Midbar Sinai. You can't separate the Torah and Klal Yisrael. The neshamas of Klal Yisrael are the letters of the Torah. And this thought is echoed by the Maranayim in Parshas Chukas. He says there are approximately 600,000 letters to the Torah, and corresponding to them are the main 600,000 neshamas that received the Torah on Har Sinai. And even though you may have more than 600,000 Jews, but the shoyrish is 600,000. Each and every one of us are embedded into one of those 600,000. And every Yid in Klal Yisrael corresponds to a letter in the Torah. Every Yid has a chelik HaTorah. Every Yid has a particular aspect of Torah and mitzvahs that by design he is embedded in, and it is there that he will be successful. That's why we're mispalel by Shemay Esrei, the same cholkeinu b'seretzecha. We should be zocheh to have our chelik in Torah. Your chelik in Torah corresponds to your letter in the Sefer Torah, wherever that is. The Kiddusha, the feeling for Yiddishkeit, the closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Amunah, the faith of the Yid, comes from his letter in the Torah. It is his letter that emanates those koichos that give us the cheshek and the will to go on. And that is why the Maranayim concludes a Sefer Torah that is missing one letter is possible. Because the Rebbeinu Shalom created Klal Yisrael as a puzzle. Every Yid has his function. Every Yiddish neshama, given his generation, given his time period on this world, has something to accomplish. And if you're missing that Yid, then the entire Sefer Torah waits to be finished. The Shevet God wanted their chelik in Eber HaYarden. Why? Because that's where Moshe Rabbeinu was buried. And in the Zayis HaBracha we read, Vayar Reishis Loi. Why did Shevet God pick that chelik for themselves? Kisham chelkas mechoykek sof. Because that is where Moshe Rabbeinu is buried. How does the Targum type chelkas mechoykek sofun? In other words, how does the Targum describe Moshe Rabbeinu in this context? Safra Rabadi Yisrael. That is where the great counter of Klal Yisrael, the one who counted the heads of Klal Yisrael, is buried. Moshe Rabbeinu was the messenger to Pari. Moshe Rabbeinu took Klal Yisrael out of Mitzrayim. Moshe Rabbeinu was there by Kriyas Yamsuf. Moshe Rabbeinu brought the Torah down to Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu brought the man to Klal Yisrael. It was in his chus. He guided them for 40 years in the Bamidbar. Moshe Rabbeinu says, "Mecheni na misifrecha," but don't destroy Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu was their defender after the Chet HaEgel. There's a lot to say about Moshe Rabbeinu. If the pasuk wants to describe where Moshe Rabbeinu is buried, if the pasuk wants to describe what Moshe Rabbeinu leaves for Klal Yisrael, so this is the way to describe Moshe Rabbeinu, that he was Safra Rabadi Yisrael. Yes, one of the things that Moshe Rabbeinu did was he counted Klal Yisrael. Which is what the Rebbeinu Shem told him to do in this week's Pasha. But why does that one mitzvah personify his very being as opposed to everything else that Moshe Rabbeinu did for us? Zak the Kedushas Levi, it's all the same idea. Moshe Rabbeinu gave us our Amunah, he took us out of Mitzrayim, and he leaves us the Torah. But the counting of Klal Yisrael is not an irrelevant or insignificant act. The counting of Klal Yisrael is tantamount to the very giving of the Torah. Because Moshe Rabbeinu counted the letters of the Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu counted the neshamas of Klal Yisrael, Moshe Rabbeinu was shown every generation of Klal Yisrael, its leaders, its followers, all the way up until Mashiach comes. And Moshe Rabbeinu found and located our place in the Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu's counting of Klal Yisrael, says the Kedushas Levi, was Moshe Rabbeinu's writing of a Sefer Torah. And that's where the lashon of the pasuk is, Kisham chelkas mechoykek. Chak means to imprint. When you chisel out something in a piece of iron through a stamp that digs in, that's called chak. We know there are two kinds of mitzvahs. There are chukim and mishpatim. Mishpatim are the mitzvahs that we understand, that we can rationalize, not to steal, to honor your parents. And chukim refer to the mitzvahs that we don't understand. Paraduma. Why is it called a chak? Because it's like when a Rebbe in class, forgive the analogy, is arguing with a Talmud. The Rebbe says to the Talmud, stay here, and the Talmud says, why do I have to stay late? And he says, stay here, and the Rebbe explains to him, because you misbehaved, or because I have to explain something to you, and they try to argue, and at one point the Rebbe doesn't want to argue anymore. The Talmud has to say whether he likes it or not. So he slams down on the table and says, you are staying. I want to talk to you. In other words, case closed. Like when the judge bangs down on the table, or the Rebbe slams down on the table, and he says, this is the way it is. There's no more arguing. It's not open for debate. Whether you understand why there should be a paraduma or not. It's a chak. We're going to listen. Kisham chelkas mechoykek sofum. Moshe Rabbeinu stamps Klal Yisrael into the Torah so that they are inseparable forever after. Moshe didn't just take a census and count the people. Moshe would tell each person what his tafkid was. Moshe would point to each neshama and say, here are the neshamas that are going to come out of you. This is your mission for Klal Yisrael. This is how you fit into the puzzle. This is your letter in the Torah. And that is why if we have to describe Moshe Rabbeinu's essence in terms of the future of Klal Yisrael, from the perspective of where Moshe Rabbeinu is buried, the relationship of Moshe Rabbeinu from here on in, so Moshe is described as Safra Rabadi Yisrael, the great counter of Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu counted the Rosh Zalman, Arbach L'chaim Levrachas of each generation and the street cleaners of each generation, and formulated the letters of the Torah, formulated the respective minyanim that combine to make us a people. The union of the 600,000 letters also corresponds to Torah Shabbat Peh. And that's why you see the number 60 or 6 as explained to the Ben Moshe from Yuzha the Rebbe, time in and time out again. There are 60 Masechtas in Mishnayos. Yaakov Avinu came down to Mitzrayim with 66 nefashos before he entered Mitzrayim. The Ben Moshe quotes the Zohar Kodesh that says the 66 nefashos correspond to the 60 Masechtas of Mishnayos. And and to the 6 Sidrei Mishnah, the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah at large. And the Ber Moshe says a rather fascinating thing. He says, count up the word Torah, or Torahs throughout the Torah. It appears 60 times. The word 10,000, Rivai or Rivava, in Tanakh appears 60 times. He quotes another Zohar Kodesh that says that there are 60 letters in Birchas Kohanim. Yiveracha Hashem Yishmerecha, until the end of Birchas Kohanim are 60 letters. And the Zohar says because there's a continuous bracha that emanates from the Torah to the base 600,000 neshamas of Klal Yisrael, and through those 600,000 neshamas to all of the Yidden throughout the generations that are embedded respectfully into one of them. You may need a pen and paper for this one, but Rabbi David Melel of the Chaim Lavracha said that there are 3 ways to spell the letter Vav, which means 6. You can spell it Vav, Vav, Kamitz Vav, Vav, and a Vav. You can spell the letter Vav, Vav, Aleph, Vav, or the letter Vav could be spelled Vav, Yud, Vav. So if you spell it Vav, Vav, it's the gematria of 12, the remes to the 12 Shvatim in Klal Yisrael. If you spell it Vav, Aleph, Vav, it's gematria Yud Gimel, the remes to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Echad is gematria Yud Gimel. If you spell it Vav, Yud Vav, it's gematria 22, the remes to the 22 letters of the Torah. And that is why the Ber Moshe explains that the Arizal in the Zmiros of Friday night says, Bevavin Tiskatar. Klal Yisrael is tied to Hashem through plural Vav, through the Vavin. Through the Eis Vav, we are tied to the Torah and to Klal Yisrael. The number 6 is a remes to Kabbalah's El Malchus Shemayim in all different situations. 6 means the 4 different directions above us and underneath us. And that's why there are 6 letters in the first pasuk of Kriya Shema. A Yid is Mekabel El Malchus Shemayim, regardless of what his circumstances are in life, regardless of where his challenges or nisyonis are coming from. And he quotes the Zohar Kodesh that says, one who learns Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, in other words, one who learns enough Torah, knows how to recite Kriya Shema. He understands, one that is who ponders the halachos and seeks direction and derech in Yiddishkeit, knows how to apply Yiddishkeit and to be Mekabel El Malchus Shemayim in all different situations. And the Zohar clearly makes this connection. Furthermore, the Ber Moshe quotes, there is a medrash in Bereshis that says, Bereshis has 6 letters, Beis, Reish, Aleph, Shin, Yud, Tzav. The 6 letters correspond to the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, to the Sheishes Yemei Bereshis, because Torah Shabbat is the Yesod Kiyum Ha'olam. The Rebbeinu Shem created this world for us to apply Torah to this world. And so Boyav counted up for Ruth 6 pieces of barley and gave it to her. Rashi tells us a remes for the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah that would be transmitted to Klal Yisrael through David HaMelech, through the guidance that Klal Yisrael was going to get as a result of this union. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says Boaz was Miramis to Ruth about the 6 descendants, the great tzaddikim that would come from them, David, Mashiach, Daniel, Hanani, Mishael, and Azariah. Dr. Ber Moshe, make no mistake, these 2 midrashim that talk about the 6 items that Boaz gave to Ruth, whether it's the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, whether it's those 6 tzaddikim, they work hand in hand. You need the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. In other words, you need all of Klal Yisrael doing their thing in order to be Zaycha to the Melech HaMashiach, in order to be Zaycha to the chain of David to Mashiach. And that's really the inyan of the 6 weeks of Sfira as they lead up to the 7th and final week. You have the first week, which is the week of Chesed, Avram Avinu and his life of Chesed. The second week, which is Yitzchak, Gevura, when strength is called for, when Mesiras Nefesh is called for. You have Yaakov, which is Tefereth, the beauty, the harmony, the combination of Chesed and Gevura, the power of Moshe Rabbeinu, Nesach, the Kiddush of HaTorah, Hoid, the Avodah, the song of Aaron HaKohen, the praise of Aaron HaKohen, Yisoid, the Mesiras Nefesh of Yosef HaTzadik, of not relinquishing the fundamentals, the foundations of Yiddishkeit, regardless of the difficulties and the overwhelming circumstances. And Malchus, the 7th week, David HaMelech, is not a midah on its own. On the contrary, Malchus is the sum total, is the combination if you have the other 6 right. Just like you have the Sheshes and the Bereshis, and then you have Shabbos. If you live out the Sheshes and Mebereshis the way you're supposed to, if the week goes well, then Shabbos you really feel the Kedusha. As a matter of fact, we've mentioned this many times, the Bar Moshe discusses it at great length. The Shloah Kodesh says that there are 600,000 Shabbosais to the Bria. You have these 6,000 years that the world stands before Mashiach. Hopefully it'll come beforehand, but in a worst case scenario, it can't come any later. So there are about 50 Shabbos a year. Those are 300,000. And then during the 1000th year, the Elef Hashvi, it's Yom Shekule Shabbos, where each day of the year is Shabbos. Through various different calculations, he says that the Bria at large has within it 600,000 Shabbos. And just like every Yid has a letter in the Torah, every Yid has a Shabbos, which is his Shabbos. So just like we spoke earlier, when a Yid learns Torah, he draws energy from his letter in the Torah. On Shabbos, a Yid gets an extra neshama, and he draws energy from that Shabbos. Every Yid has a Shabbos that is his Shabbos. So many stories of people that say they experienced the Shabbos in the old city of Yerushalayim, they experienced the Shabbos by a tzaddik in a yeshiva, and it changed around their life. Or a person suddenly has this inspiration on a Shabbos, and he feels so good, and he decides to be makabel upon himself that from here on in things are going to be different, because we each have a Shabbos, and we never know which is our Shabbos. It is said that Satmar Rebbe once told people we have to be extremely careful with our children, because for all we know, it could be they are our fathers. In other words, what he meant to say was, we don't know what the 6 million that perished was all about. We know that somehow in the plan of creation it had to be this way. And somehow, a split second after Yitzias Neshama, each and every one of those 6 million understood exactly why it had to be that way. They understood where their place was in the 6 million. But the same way they had their place in the Tikkun HaOlam, in their Mesiras Nefesh, they have their place in the Tikkun HaOlam, being sent down again to live out this world and to accomplish what their particular mission in life is. As again, it divides itself through this number 6. So instead of just crying about history, the Satmar Rebbe was saying, let's now put all of our emphasis, all of our Mesiras Nefesh in the chinuch of our children, which is the greatest revenge against those who try to annihilate us, so that we bring back the number 6. In other words, we bring back the basic 600,000 different missions that each and every member of Klal Yisrael has to fulfill. And again, that's why Parshas Bamidbar, the counting of Klal Yisrael, the Golim, the positions of Klal Yisrael in the Midbar, it's all read before Shavuos. Because now before Matan Torah, when a Yid has to reach out and be mispalel, the Bnei Shalom, I beg of you, show me my position, guide me to accomplish what I am supposed to do. The Medrash Rabbah tells us a marshal about a melech that was nichnas l'Medina. And all the people of the country saw him, and for whatever reason, their response was to run away from him. Well, he was left all alone, so he went to the second country. And there too they saw him and ran away. So he tried a third place. This particular third place was a desolate city. There were some people left over there, but basically there was nothing here. When he arrived, they came out toward him, they praised him, they greeted him. The king said, this city is better than all of the other Medinites I visited thus far. Everyone else ran away from me. So therefore, Kan ani boine kisei. No, here I'm going to build a beautiful heavenly throne. Kan ani dar. Here I'm going to live. I don't want to live in places where people run away from me. Sagt the Medrash Kach kishabah Kadosh Baruch Hu liyam, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu came to the ocean ran away. As the pasuk says, Hayam Rav Yonas. HaKadosh Baruch Hu came to the mountains, they ran away. Like the pasuk says, Aharim Raktus Hi Eilim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu came to the desolate Midbar, and here they praised him. And therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu said over here in the Midbar, here is where I'm going to build Knesset Yisrael. Here is where I'm going to live. The Bama and Chaim explain that the Nimshal is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu came first to the Malachim to try to give them the Torah. But the Malachim, although it's not shayach for any Nivra to understand its creator, but the Malachim have so much more of a musik of who the Rebbeinu Shalom is that they were so stunned, so frightened, so overwhelmed, they couldn't handle it. So therefore, says the Ber Mayim Chaim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu came down on Har Sinai and gave the Torah to Klal Yisrael. And even though Klal Yisrael by Har Sinai also shivered, v'yechad kol ha'omer shebemachne, but they were far enough from the Shemei HaShemayim. Down here in this world, even in our highest madrega, like at the point of Har Sinai, it is still so veiled that they were able to absorb the Kiddusha. When the king came to the small town, the people saw the king, they liked him. They were impressed with his charisma, with his mannerism. They had never seen anything like it. But because they couldn't really understand what a king is, and to truly grasp his awesome power, that gave them the opportunity to be able to deal with him, not to run away, to listen to what he has to say. In the more sophisticated cities, knowing what the emperor really was, what he could do, what he represents, sent such a shiver down their spine that they couldn't deal with it on a day-to-day level. That's why Chumash Bamidbar explains the Ber Mayim Chaim begins Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe b'midbar Sinai. But we have to remember that the key to our success in Torah and Yiras Shamayim is the mere fact that we are b'midbar Sinai. That we down here on this world are so far removed from seeing who HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, from understanding what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, that we can deal with the Taryag Mitzvahs on the level that we have them. Sinai, by nature, represents the classical lesson of anivus, of modesty. That's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu picked the lowest mountain, Sinai, as opposed to the high mountains. Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe b'midbar Sinai is the key to understanding the entire Chumash Bamidbar. Chumash Bamidbar, which basically deals with the counting of Klal Yisrael, with every Yid's mission in life, the Degolim, everyone being positioned where he's supposed to be, and ends with Parshas Matas and Masai, the Membes Masois of Klal Yisrael. The Baal Shem HaKadosh says every Yid in his life goes through Membes Masois. You don't necessarily see the definitive points where we travel from one Masa to the other. But the Baal Shem Tov says in the course of a person's life, there are 42 Masois, there are 42 different stations, 42 different kinds of dwelling places, 42 different kinds of phases, each one representing different isyonos, different challenges, different ups and downs in life. So Chumash Bamidbar as a whole really reflects on the individual. The fact that every Yid belongs over here in this number, and the number wouldn't be complete if we were missing one Yid. That we each have a mission, we each have an achrayus. And let that get to our heads, so the posse begins, but remember, the only reason we can deal with it is because of Bamidbar Sinai, is because we're like the marshal of the people in that little town, who can talk to the king because we truly don't understand who the king is. And that's what makes the couple of precious years that we have down here in this world so vital. Because when the neshama, liachanei lias neshama, soars up to Shemayim, to the infinite nitzchias world of Olam Haba, it's all fine and well, the tainug, the enjoyment is beyond our imagination, but we cannot serve Hashem the way we serve Hashem down here. Taryag mitzvahs is only available to us because we're from the little town. A story is told in the Beis Medrash in Salant. There was a Talmud Chacham, a permanent member of that Beis Medrash, was really a Baki, B'Shas, Bavli, and Yerushalmi, very sharp. And he was such a great Talmud Chacham, the only pity was he knew he was such a great Talmud Chacham. Perhaps he even overassessed himself. And at times, even when he was wrong, he refused to admit it, because how could he possibly be wrong? I mean, after all, it was his svara. He and wrong don't go together. Rabbi Yosef Zundel of Salant, one of the Talmidei Chachamim used to learn at this Medrash, never tried to argue with the Talmud Chacham. But he felt bad for him. He felt that his gaiva is destroying his true limit hatayva, because he never seeks out the emes. If one is not willing to listen to someone else and to take into consideration what someone else says, then the truth will always be either a step ahead of you or a step behind you, very rarely with you. But then he found the solution. There was an 8-year-old child that was a one of a kind. Once in a generation, maybe once in 100 generations you have a child like that. This 8-year-old was a genius, Shein Kamay. And he was also a Baki in Shas. Tremendous svaras, he would say. Rabbi Yosef Zundel said he is the one to argue with this Talmud Chacham. Rabbi Yosef Zundel reasoned it will be a win-win situation. If he sends over this 8-year-old to talk to this Talmud Chacham, the Talmud Chacham won't feel the need to prove himself right. When he speaks to the other elder members of the Beis HaMedrash, he has to show that his svaras are right. But for this little child, maybe for once in his life, not feeling a need to have to prove himself, because it's so obvious, after all, he's the big Talmud Chacham and he's just a little child, maybe, ironically, he'll listen to him. And Rabbi Yosef Zundel's prediction worked out to the T. The little child came. This Talmud Chacham in question was interested to hear what he had to say. Each day they would argue with each other. Each day they would listen to each other. After a while, this great Talmud Chacham began to be plagued by self-doubt. Now that for the first time he was listening, he wondered if the child was right, and maybe he had been wrong with some of his svaras. Maybe even some of his trademark theories that he demanded approval on from everyone else in the Beis Medrash could be questioned. After a while, this Talmud Chacham came to Rav Tzvi Brody, the Rav of Salant, and he burst into tears. The more I think about what has been going on over here the last couple of years, he told the Rav, I feel like someone who's blindfolded, groping in the dark. I'm not quite sure what I was really talking about the last couple of years, and why I was so adamant in insisting that I was right. Reb Tzvi, who was in on Reb Yosef Zundel's plan, could not believe how Reb Yosef Zundel managed, prophesied what would happen over here, accepted this Talmud Chacham with open arms, and he directed Rav Yisrael Salanter to give him a real derech halimud, with a seichel yasher and a svara nechoina. And the Meshech Hazman, this Talmud Chacham gained back his confidence, but this time it was a confidence not based on insistence that he was right. It was a confidence that didn't cover up very often false conclusions. It was a confidence based on an ability to be able to listen to everyone else and to analyze what everyone else had to say and to take it into consideration to the point where he'd chewed it through enough to compare what he thought to what others think and to know when it was right or when it was wrong. This Talmud Chacham, who will go unnamed, later became one of the great Gedolei Hadar, and for the rest of his life he would thank Rav Yosef Zundel for the idea of the small child. And in a sense, that's what the Ber Maim Chaim is telling us. Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe b'midbar Sinai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to Moshe b'midbar Sinai. If we go with the hanacha that our only ability to learn Torah is the fact that we have so much more to learn and to understand, then we are successful. Then we can accomplish our mission in life. Then we're ready for what comes next in Parshas Bamidbar, the counting of Klal Yisrael and the assigning of every person in his position, to his shevet, to his flag. Baruch Hashem, we are blessed with many, many programs for small children, all sorts of contests, and you have children that exceed, children that are called to the forefront of mesivos, sometimes even of dinners, children that chazard shisha sidrei mishnah bal peh and so on. And of course it is beautiful. Safi like a Torah, Chazal say. But a certain Rosh Yeshiva told me that someone once went into the stipler and he asked the stipler a shayla. He said, all these programs, these gewaldige hasmada contests and these children that remember so many hundreds of bleta Gemara and maybe even thousands of mishnayos bal peh, and they get these tremendous awards and so on, one would think that with such intense basic training that the generation would have produced by now at least another Rebbe Akiva Eiger, another Avnei Nezer, another Reb Chaim. Where are they? What's happening to these superstar children in the middle years? So the disciple said the problem is that in all due respect to these types of contests and programs, but there's a drawback over here. What prevents these children that should be on the launching path to greatness not quite to make it as far as we would think they should? The Stipler answered, and only someone with the Das Torah and the Kiddushas Torah of the Stipler can say such a thing. You take a child, and you put him up in front of hundreds and thousands of people, and you print his name in newspapers all over the country with pictures of a tremendous award, and his parents are shedding such nachas, and he's so proud, it's all beautiful, it's all fine, but Torah and Gaiva just don't go together. When that child walks away thinking about how he is so much better than everyone else, I mean, after all, the newspaper says so beferish, then that is sort of a clamp on him. And that's why these children don't proceed the way we would think they would to indeed become Gidoli Hadar that could match that of the previous generation. Now, it's extremely crucial that we put the words of the Stipler here into context. He was not suggesting in any remote way that there was something wrong with these programs, that Chas V'Shalom they should not be pursued and funded, and that we shouldn't be committed to them. We're keeping thousands of children off the street, and who knows what we're keeping them away from, and they're involved in Limud HaTorah. There could be nothing more noble, nothing more greater than this. But what the Stipler was saying is that the idea of these programs is not to produce the one superhero. The idea of these programs is the masses of children that did their best and tried and gained whatever awards they could have. They, in the long run, gain more than the one child with the genius mind who excelled into stardom. Now, Magalgu is Chusal Yedei Zakeh, because that's the dream of every other child to win that bicycle. So all the hundreds of children learn Mishnayos. But we have to put this into perspective and understand that the real winners are those who are in the crowd, because they are the ones who are in the Midbar Sinai. The individual who is lifted above it is vulnerable. Now, what was the last parsha in Chumash Vayikra? The parsha of Meiser Behema. So we're supposed to line up the behemoths, and as they walk through a narrow passageway, the 10th one is marked, and the 10th one is Kodesh Hashem. The other ones are Chol. One is picked out of the 10. Then you have right afterwards Parshas Bamidbar, where all of Klal Yisrael are counted. So Dr. Shamshua Fol Hirsch, L'chaim Levracha, this is the connection over here. When you count the behemoths, so the whole purpose of the counting is to find one and to eliminate the other 9. When you count Klal Yisrael, it's exactly the opposite. It's to instill the chashivas into every single yid. In other words, in a behema world, in an animal world of personal pride, you want to excel in everyone else's freshman. And it's true. On that level, that's the only way to do it. We count 9 and the 10th is picked. The 10th is special only because there was another 9 that were not special. But when it comes to counting Klal Yisrael, and especially the counting of Klal Yisrael in Parshas Bamidbar, which is always read before Shulas, that represents the Hachana for Kabbalah Satayr, and every Yid is instilled with the message that you are part of Klal Yisrael. Whether you have the mind to be a great Talmid Chacham, or you have the mind to be someone who tries hard to learn, it makes no difference. You have a responsibility to do your best. But when you do your best, you are equally as important. Of course, in the final analysis, there are Gedolim, there are those who are more talented. There are the Tzadikei Ador, there are those who can lead, and there are those who have to follow. But in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's counting of Klal Yisrael, in the measuring of Klal Yisrael as per what everyone has in store for him in the Olam HaEmes, greatness is not based on being better than the one ahead of you and the one behind you. Greatness is based on you doing what you are supposed to do. Just the opposite. The one who is raised to greatness has nisyonos and difficulties that could be overcome, but it's faced with a tremendous challenge not to let that publicity lift him too far above the rest where he's not connected anymore. The Imri Emes said that the Shabbos before Kabbalah Torah is the key to Kabbalah Torah. And that's why even for the Yidden of the Midbar, they got the mitzvah of Shabbos before Har Sinai. Although our connection to mitzvahs, as the Rambam explains, is only from Har Sinai, even vis-a-vis the mitzvahs they had before Har Sinai, but Lamaisa, the Imri Emes explains, the Yidden needed Shabbos as a hachana to Kabbalah Torah. Why is this so? Because the pasuk says, Shemaya tishmu b'kayli, im Shemaya b'yashan tishma b'chadash. If you listened to the old things, that's what opens the door to be able to hear new things. Limud HaTorah requires a hachana of listening. And that's why the Yidden got Shabbos in Mara. As an opportunity to listen, they should be able to hear Kabbalah Torah. Shemaya Tishvu B'Kayli is Rosh Tevas Shabbos. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu help we should be zoicha to indeed find this key. The story is told about the Chayzev Leblim, the story is told about the Katzka. Their mother woke up in the middle of the night and she smelled smoke. Quickly she grabbed her children and ran out of the house. In seconds, they watched their entire house and everything in it go up in flames. And the mother began to cry. So the child said to the mother, "Why are you crying? Wood and stones, they're replaceable." And the mother answered, "It is not the wood and stones, it's not the furniture, it's not our tables and chairs that I cry over. But we had in our house a Megillas Yuchsin, a Sefer HaYichus, which listed the names of our fathers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers, for generations and generations. And that is all lost. Our Yichus is lost." So the little child said, "Mother, don't worry. A new Yichus will start from me. People will be happy to say that they came from me, that I was their great-grandfather." The Bar Moshe from the Yerusha Rebbe Chanurach explains the pasuk V'Yidaber Hashem al Moshe b'Midbar Sinai v'Yel Mayed v'Yachad l'Chodesh Hasheni b'Shana Hashenes l'Tzeisa me'Yeretz Mitzrayim Leimer. This is a remes on the Koyach Yitzchachus in every single Yid. Never despair over burning wood behind you, because you can always start new. The Bar Moshe from the Yerusha Rebbe Chanurach quotes the Sefer Tshuas Chaim b'Shem the Baal Shem Tov. Inyan Yitzias Mitzrayim. They were so immersed, so steeped into their tumah. It was almost impossible for them to do tshuva. If you just looked at the situation as is, they were too far gone, too far down to be able to do tshuva. However, the Rebbeinu Shalom dug a special tunnel directly from this world to his heavenly throne, to right underneath his heavenly throne, his galus name, to reveal himself to them in such a way that the world had never experienced before. And as a result, their hearts burned to return to Hashem. The Yatsu Migader Ateva, and the tshuva that they did went beyond the Gedalim of nature. And that is the reason that the inyan of Yetzias Mitzrayim is repeated so many times in the Torah, to emphasize that regardless of how it seems that everything is burning behind you and collapsing, a Yid does not have a right to be miyash himself, because you never know the day that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to dig that special tunnel for you. Thus the pasuk says, Ki seitzi lamuchama levecha, and you will see sus v'rechev, and you will see this tremendous army marching toward you. As far as the numbers are concerned, you don't have a chance. But the pasuk goes on to say, Lo yisira mehem, don't be frightened of that. Ki Hashem lekecha imach, in other words, you never know when. Maybe today is the day that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to dig that special tunnel for you, straight from the Kisya Kali to wherever you are. Al Kisya, she concludes, that this chazik asmucha, Yid always has to be mechazik himself. This world is referred to in the Zohar as Shana. The world is described in three ways: Olam, Shana, and Nefesh. Sometimes in terms of its place, sometimes in terms of its time frame, sometimes in terms of its nefesh, the tzaddik. But the standard term for this world is Shana. The Noam Elimelech says, "Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe b'Midbar Sinai b'Yel Mayed b'Echad l'Chodesh Hasheni b'Shana Hashenis." Let's say from the earth and same labor. The Shana Hashenis emphasizes it happened once, it's going to happen again. Every time a Yid does tshuva, there's a kind of Yetzias Mitzrayim there. And at the point that the Yetzer Hara is trying to tell you, well, with your rap sheet, with your history, you're too far gone to do tshuva, So the pasuk reminds us, Bashana Hashenis, let's say Samiyas Mitzrayim. It doesn't have to be that world of Yetzias Mitzrayim. You on a personal level, between you and the Rebbeinu Shalom, you are the second Yetzias Mitzrayim. The Rebbeinu Shalom made one Yetzias Mitzrayim for Klal Yisrael, and the Rebbeinu Shalom will make another Yetzias Mitzrayim, a second one, for any individual, even if he is in the Mem Tev Shari Tama, as long as somehow something within him says, I want to come back. And the Ber Moshe continues, that is also the remes earlier on in the pasuk. Anyone who is looking for the echad, who is looking for that warmth directly from the Kisei HaKavod, don't think that's just imagination. That his chashes, that brand new life, that brand new tunnel that shines new light into your heart can be there any single day. You could have had 1,000 sleepless nights about a problem, but don't worry. It could be that night number 1001 represents the day that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to open up that special tunnel to the Kisei HaKavod. If you're determined that that's what you want, if it's the Echad, if you concentrate on the Echad and Lachodesh, then there will be that Esachas. Then Yetzias Mitzrayim is there for you again. Now he quotes the Rambam in Perek Beis Hilchos Tshuva, Halacha Dalet. Midaki Tshuva, says the Rambam, is you're a different person. Umashana Shemai, he changes his name. Kleimer, in other words, says the Rambam, Ani Acha, I'm somebody else. You look back and you say, how can the Kadosh Baruch Hu listen to my tefillas? I know what kind of averos I did as I was growing up. But that is what tshuva is. Tshuva says, you're not the person who did those averos. What do you mean I'm not the person who did the averos? But I did it. Well, who says tshuva makes sense? Tshuva is a gift. When the person changes his actions, and as a result, as far as the Rebbeinu Shalom is concerned, you are not the same person who was chayte. It's true. You may have done terrible things. And as a result, at that time, you may have been labeled someone who is hated, meshukitz, meruchik, tayeva. But right now, you changed. Right now, you are different. And as a result, Tshuva says that you have new labels. You are now considered, says the Rambam, Ahov, the Nechmad, Karaiv, the Yedid, loved. To the point where people can even consider your special relationship to HaKadosh Baruch Hu something to be jealous of. Karaiv, close, the Yedid, to be a friend of Hashem. And that, says the Ber Moshe, is Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe b'midbar sinu b'yei mayad bi'echad l'chodesh hasheni. Sheni from the lashon of shinoi. Don't worry about your past. If you're sincere, you can become a completely different person. And how do we know all of this? B'tzei Samiyas Mitzrayim. And there's a special emphasis on the word, the last word on the pasuk, leimar. Leimar. There is a constant chayv upon us to continuously mention Yetzias Mitzrayim within this context as a limud l'dayus. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took the Yidden out of Mitzrayim. They were in the depths of klipos and tuma, and they went out to complete freedom. Every single Yid could follow suit. And if you believe that it could happen today, it could happen tomorrow, then that special tunnel to the Kisei HaKavod is so much closer to you. Chumash Bamidbar in general is considered the Pasha of counting. Now it's true. At the beginning of Pashas Bamidbar, we have the counting of Klal Yisrael. But isn't it strange that the entire Chumash should be referred to as the Pasha of counting? The Gemara in Masechtas Yuma tells us that the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur reads Ba'aser Sheba Chumash HaPekudim. And the Kavanah is for Pashas Bamidbar. Rashi explains that he reads Pashas Bamidbar, which begins with the story of the counting of Klal Yisrael. Now, there's a lot in Chumash Bamidbar. Why is the whole Chumash given the title after this one incident that took place at the beginning of the Chumash, and that is the counting of Klal Yisrael? The Ber Moshe explains to us that the Torah is nitzchias. If the Torah teaches us about Klal Yisrael having been counted, that means Klal Yisrael is counted. There's more than just a lesson for us, there is an experience for us. Now, Klal Yisrael was counted 3 times. They were counted by Yetzias Mitzrayim. They were counted again after the Chet HaEgel. Like Rashi tells us, the mashal, a shepherd who lost some of his sheep recounts it again.
And now we have a third time that Klal Yisrael is counted. The counting of Yetzias Mitzrayim represented a message for every single Yid. You are a member of Klal Yisrael. And even though you are steeped into the Memtes Shari Tuma, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there willing to purify you, to take you out from the Tuma of your Avainas. All HaKadosh Baruch Hu is asking of you is express the desire to be counted together with Klal Yisrael, and you will be counted together with all of the other tzaddikim in Klal Yisrael. Every Yid has that opportunity. That is the counting of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And even at the point that we want to come back, the road isn't always paved smoothly. Everyone has their personal chata ego that they stumble into as well. And then you're going to say, look, I tried, it just didn't go. Look what I did afterwards. Well, it's no excuse to give up. Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I am willing to count you again, even after the chata ego. And ultimately, the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, not only am I willing to count you in order to take you out of Mitzrayim, in order to include you in those who can return after chata ego, I'm willing to count you and include you in the Klal Yisrael that is going to be Zaycha to Madregas, that is going to be Zaycha just to keep going higher and higher. And that's the counting of Pashas Bamidbar. That's the counting not only to bring you back in, but that's the counting where everyone is assigned their task. Where every Yid has a purpose, every Yid has a reason that he's down here, an objective to fulfill. And of course that's why we always read Pashas Bamidbar before Shavuos. Before Matan Torah we are reminded you're a member of Klal Yisrael and there is a chaylik hatayah that is your chaylik. And if you don't do it, no one else will. Now the Medrash asks a stira in the Psukim in Ashai. On the one hand, the pasuk says, "V'yamispa b'nei Yisrael k'chaylayah." Klal Yisrael, their number, it equals the amount of sand that there is on the sea. On the other hand, that same Navi says, Klal Yisrael can never be measured and never be counted. How could that be? So the Gemara Masechtas Yuma answers, it depends. Kan bizman she Yisrael oisin yitzayne shel makayim. Then the Navi says they can never be measured and never be counted. Kan bizman she ein oisin yitzayne shel makayim. That's when the pasuk says they're on a lower madrega, v'yamispa b'nei Yisrael k'chayla yam. They're k'chayla yam like the sand of the sea, but l'maisa they're counted. There's a number. So according to this Gemara in Masechtas Yuma, it would appear that the counting doesn't represent a very high madrega. It's bizman she'ein Yisrael oisin yitzayne shel makayim that they are counted. So how do we reconcile that with Rashi in our Sedra that says that mitaychi basim, because of the Kadosh Baruch Hu's great love for Klal Yisrael, therefore mana, therefore he counted them? But the answer is, says the Ber Moshe, that the kasha itself is the answer. Rashi is trying to emphasize mitaychi basim, because of the great love that the Kadosh Baruch Hu has for Klal Yisrael, even when ein oisin yitzayne shel makayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still counting them to bring them back into the fold in order to lift them up to that madrega where they cannot be counted. Now we find, in terms of the counting of Klal Yisrael, or the numbers of Klal Yisrael, three different expressions in the pasuk. Sometimes they're compared to afar, to dust, chechavim, stars, v'chayil, and sand. The pasuk says, "Kivarach havrechacha v'har ba'arba azaracha k'chaychei hashemayim," like the stars in the sky, v'kachayil ashal sasayam, like the sand by the sea, and it also says, "V'yazaracha k'afar ha'aretz." So we have these three metaphors that are used: dust, stars, and sand. The counting originally by Yetzias Mitzrayim, explains the Ber Moshe, that is the counting of dust. Dust doesn't represent a very high madrega, but it still shows the tremendous love that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has for Klal Yisrael. Dust has its mila. It's always going to be there. It never warps. It never ceases to exist like metal kalim. It doesn't rot. It doesn't rot. It lasts forever. And that's one promise for Klal Yisrael. And that's the counting after the chata ego, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if you think that because of his chait, Klal Yisrael no longer exists as an entity, it's not true. They're like the dust. The dust will always be there. Your existence is guaranteed, and as a result, it is a basis to work your way back. It's more than that. It's a basis that you're going to have to eventually work your way back. Because if your existence is guaranteed, so your relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to have to be corrected, whether you want to or don't. So that's the significance of being compared to the dust. It guarantees your existence. There's another counting where they're compared to the stars. That refers to the madregas. That refers to the levels that Klal Yisrael is going to be lifted through their avodah. to their yearning to come close to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Like the Gemara says in Masechtas Megillah, Umazu, this nation, is compared to dust and compared to the stars. Kishain Yarden, when they go down, Yarden ad Offer, they go down until the dust. Or Kishain Oilen, when they go up, Oilen ad Lekaychavim, they go up to the stars. The Rebbe Zechon Levracha and Rabbi Yonis Shteif, the Wiener Rav, chazed over Shas, Baal Peh, in Bergen-Belsen. They sat on the floor, on the sand, exposed to the elements, no roof over their heads, from morning until night. One of them said a blot, the other one picked it up. Another one said a blot, the other one picked it up, and that's how they chazed Masechta after Masechta. And once the Satmar Rav said, you see, it says Klal Yisrael is sometimes compared to the dust and sometimes to the stars. And we have both. We're sitting in the dust, and we have the stars over our head. But it's a very telling kind of a mashal, because it means Klal Yisrael, in their most difficult times, understands that their existence is guaranteed. They never give up. They learn Torah even in concentration camps, and they know that the stars above them are just waiting. It is because these two giants learned Torah in the dust that they were zeicha to rebuild Klal Yisrael that shines like the stars. So the only thing left to us now is to distinguish between the mashal of the dust and the sand, because he said that in the counting of Klal Yisrael these three mishalim are used: Afar, Klechavim, and Chal. Afar, the dust, represents the achdus of Klal Yisrael, because the dust of this world is one. There's one land around the globe. It's all connected. Chayil, sand, represents the cheshivas of the yachid. The sand of one beach is different than the sand of another beach. What you can find in sand on one side of the globe, you won't find in sand on a different side of the globe. The sand represents the tzaddikim. Just like the sand protects the world from the ocean, so much more so, the actions of the tzaddikim protect the world from the Averis and the Rishayim. Now these two ideas of Asar Ha'aretz and Kechayla Shofar Yam work hand in hand. On the one hand, Klal Yisrael wants to understand the lesson of the dust. We have to realize that as individuals we are nothing. We exist only as an entity of Klal Yisrael. And regardless of which part of the dust you are standing on, whether in Yerushalayim, whether in the North Pole, whether in the South Pole, whether in Argentina, if it's part of this globe, then you are part of the equation. When one year does not do his avodah, it affects everybody. And by the same token, there is a lesson conversely that you have to view yourself in terms of what your achrayus is for Klal Yisrael. Because everybody has a reason that they're here on this world, like we said many times on the Beis Ha'avim. If there was something you can do that somebody else can, you wouldn't be here. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not create things for nothing. The Medrash says, Ilu ha-Yisrael chaseidim echad, had one yid been missing lo he'em mekablim es ha-Torah. So there are two lessons over here. There is a lesson that we all need each other, that as individuals we don't exist, and by the same token there is a lesson that if we don't fulfill our individual objective, then all of Klal Yisrael suffers. So you have the achdus represented by the Afar, as well as the need for every person to do what they have to do in the arena that they would excel in as individuals, tailored to your respective talents and your given situation. That is the message in Kechayla Yam, like the sand of the sea. So that's what we are mispal for in this Parshas Bamidbar before Shavuos. Rabbeinu Shalom, give us the guidance, direct us to be where I am supposed to be as an individual. It's a tragedy when a person is working in an arena where he doesn't belong. He loses and all of Klal Yisrael loses. And this is the time to be mispal, to make that correction. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu help that we are zeicha to understand that as Offer we will always exist, as individuals, as sand we have to do what we have to do, and as a result we will be raised to the stars. We mentioned the story several times that there once was a person who was the son of a chashav rav, although the son himself still had a way to go before the term chashav could properly be applied to him. His father passed away, and the son fought for the position. Despite the fact that he was not a worthy candidate, but sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know, and he was in a position to sort of chisel himself in. When he became the new Rav, he came to the Tish of the Samter Rav, and he expected to be honored as a Rav. And they pushed him up front. and he was now wearing Rabbanish begadim, and he sat down next to the sons of Rav. And the sons of Rav saw him. And he said, I want to tell you a mashal. A drunken peasant once fell on the floor, and he was sleeping on the street. People passed by, so they decided to play a prank on him. They took off his clothes, and they put on the clothes of a galach. The peasant wakes up in the morning, and he looks at his clothes, and he wonders what this is all about. And so he begins to think to himself that one of two things happened. Either, who knows, being that he is such a good person, so to speak, Min HaShamayim, they elevated him and they pronounced him a galach. And miraculously he was wearing the clothes of a galach to prove it. Or someone is playing a prank on him. He wasn't quite sure. So he starts walking down the street, and he sees people see him, and they start bowing toward him respectfully, and they move out of the way. So he likes it. He says, this is not bad. But then he's wondering to himself that if someone is looking from behind a tree and laughing at him, he's going to be even a bigger fool. So the whole day, as he's walking down the street, and people keep bowing for him, and stepping aside for him, and honoring him, and coming over with him for blessings, he's not really sure. Although he was leaning to the position that indeed he was elevated, he was given a heavenly promotion. He decided that there's one way to find out, being that he does not know how to read and never did. So he will walk into the library, the theological seminary. He will take out a Bible, and he will look at the words, and he declare that this will be his hachlata. If he knows how to read, his harayataka that Min HaShamayim, they gave him this new chachma and this new stature, and they elevated him to this high, lofty position. If he sees, however, that he does not know how to read, and the letters are the same mumbo-jumbo that they always were to him, then he will come to the conclusion that it's all just a trick. So, he walks into the library, he takes out a book, he closes his eyes, and finally he works up enough courage to open them, and he stares at the letters, and he cannot figure out for the life of him what it means. So he's all dejected, and he's sad and frustrated, and he's walking out, and as he's walking out, people are still bowing, and people are still stepping aside for him and showing him so much respect because he is still wearing the clothes, and they assume that he's a galach. So he scratched his head, and he said, you know something? I think the truth is that I really became a galach. Really, Min HaShamayim, they made me a galach. I have a kasha, but I don't know how to read. So the Teretz says he decided that they don't know how to read either. No galach knows how to read. The whole thing is just a fraud. How could they know? I'm also a galach and I don't know. Is it something no one knows? So I'll make believe that I do know. That was the mashal that the sons of Rav told this individual. And the nimshal is sort of moving me'elav. It's self-understanding. If you don't have the qualifications of paskening shilas and you don't have the patience to listen to people and you don't have the reputation that is worthy of someone who represents Hashras Hashchina, so what right do you have to assume the mantle? Other than your position must be that you probably think nobody does. The Ber Moshe Yosef Rebbe points out a very interesting Baal HaTurim, an almost seemingly impossible Baal HaTurim to explain. On the pasuk, the Ata Hafkedes HaLeviyim al Mishkan HaEdus. You should appoint the Leviyim al Mishkan HaEdus Yal Kokela. They are in charge of the Mishkan. Dr. Baal HaTurim, we find this lashon of Hafked twice over here, when Moshe Rabbeinu is giving the order of appointing the Leviyim, and the other time we find it in Tanakh is a pasuk in Tehillim, Kapitel Kuf Tes pasuk Vav, where the pasuk says, Hafked olav Rasha v'Satan Yamid al Yaminai. Set a lawless man over him, and made the adversary stand at his right hand. And David HaMelech is saying this in the context of what his enemies were trying to do to him. David is saying, look what my enemies were trying to do to me. They were hoping that I would be delivered into the hands of men who are wicked. So it's a parallel. Usually if the Baal HaTurim points out that you have two words that are found in Tanakh, there's a Messiah over here, there is some connection between the two Parshiyos, between two halachos, between two inyanim, between two mitzvahs. But here we seem to be pointing out two things that are diametrically opposed to each other. Here we have the command to Moshe Rabbeinu to appoint the Leviyim over the Mishkan HaEdus, and over there we speak about a klola of Rishayim taking over, So the Balaturim sort of explains what the connection is. The lashon of the Balaturim is as follows. And this is what we mean when we say, Ein Adam Nasa Schacter Milmata. A person does not become, schacter means a policeman or someone who has power over others, Ela in Kain Nasa Rasha Milmaila, unless he first becomes a Rasha from above. And the Balaturim continues, and the words are Mamish Apela. They seem to be beyond understanding. This is Pshat, concludes the Balaturim, Hafkad et Levin, appoint a Levin. Shenasu Shaitcha. They're now going to become people who are going to have power over others. They're the policemen over others. And therefore, Hafkad is connected to Hafkad Olav Rasha, because a person doesn't become a Shaitcha down here unless he is a Rasha Milmaila. What does this mean? What is he trying to say? Our pasuk is where all the drashas Chazal learn the kavod of Talmidei Chachamim, the kiddusha of tzaddikim, the respect that we have to accord them. How do we even touch the words over here? The bamidbar of the Yerusha Rebbe explains as follows. First of all, this is a lashon from a schacter cipher, that Ein Adam Nasa Schacter Milmata Ela Im Kain Nasa Rasha Milmaila. But again, what does it mean? The bamidbar explains that the Balaturim is talking over here not to the people who have to respect the Talmud Chacham. Of course, you are not supposed to go to a new Rav or a new person that was put into power and say, here, I've made you this plaque from the Masechta Sof, from a nice Maimer Chazal that says, Ein Adam Nasa Schacter Milmata Ela Im Kain Nasa Rasha Milmaila. That's not the Mechuvin here. The Mechuvin over here is to the person who indeed was given power. And the Masechta Sof reminds him what the Gemara tells us in Masechta Nidus Daf Lamed Amud Beis, that afilu kol ha'olam oimrim l'cha tzadik ata, even if the entire world says that you are a tzadik, but ata, you should be b'einecha kil rasha, like a rasha. Like a rasha. You should not consider yourself mamish a rasha. That is wrong. No one should consider themselves a rasha. The Zohar Kodesh and the Balatanya explain that that's one of the tricks of the Yetzer Hara. He tries to convince a person that he's a rasha, and then you take the position, well, if I'm a rasha anyway, I may as well do all the things that a rasha does. So no one is allowed to consider themselves a rasha. But the Gemara is saying you should consider yourself like a rasha. In other words, because you are now given a position of power, and you are now a person who can influence others, you are standing at the threshold of becoming a rasha if you exercise this power in the wrong way. If you allow the geyser to overwhelm you and you start taking advantage of people. So know that. Know that along with sharara, along with prestige, comes danger, depending on how you are going to handle it. And that is what Chazal is saying. When you become a shaiter milmata, and you now have power, and people are going to respect you, and people are going to smile and say good Shabbos to you, and people are going to step aside for you when you walk into the Beis HaMedrash, and you now have an obligation to exercise your powers in the right way, and indeed to demand that respect and kavod. As far as the people are concerned, that kavod is essential. But for your part, in your pnimius, in the depths of your heart, you have to generate levels of hachna and anava that are going to neutralize this kavod that is coming into you from the outside. The term milmata and milmaila over here is used in the context of to the outside, that is milmata, meaning down here what everyone sees, and milmaila means higher up, in the levels of your heart, in your thought process. And Ein Adam Nasa Schacter Milmata, a person cannot become a true leader of his people. You will not be successful in prevailing upon others, in commanding others, in directing others, unless in your heart, unless milmaila, you're always aware of the fact that once I start looking into the mirror and thinking about how powerful I am, then you are just one step away from becoming a rasha. And that is the message that Moshe Rabbeinu is giving over to the Leviim. The Ata Hafked es HaLeviim al Mishkan Eidus. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, the Leviim are going to have tremendous power. The Levium have tremendous Kedusha. The Levium are going to be counted separately. The Levium are going to be counted miben chodesh v'mayla, only from when they are 30 days old, as opposed to the rest of Klal Yisrael that are counted only from when they are 20. And the message over here is to show that there is an inherent Kedusha in the Levium from the time that they are born. And Chazal ask, how did Moshe Rabbeinu count the tiny babies that are 30 days old? And the Medrash says, Halach Moshe Rabbeinu went, the Amad al Pesach oil, he stood by the opening of a tent, the Hashchina Mekademes Lefonov, and the Shechina came before him, and a basko rang out from the tent and said, there are 3 babies here, 4 babies here, 6 babies here. Kach v'kach tinoikes yesh bi oil zeh. So this also indicates to us there was a tremendous amount of Hashras Hashchina merely with the birth of a child from Shevet Levi. And although that is true for all of Klal Yisrael, every Yid is born with Hashras Hashchina, every Yid is born with a tafkid, every Yid is born with tremendous potential. That's why we always have the parsha of counting all of the Yidden before Shavuos, to remind us that when it comes to Shavuos and we're going to be Mekabel the Torah, each and every one of our ancestors were counted, and when they were counted with the potential koiches of all of their offspring, of all of their descendants. In other words, as we are approaching Shavuos, we are told, each and every one of us are told, you have a tafkid in Torah, you have a chelik of Torah that you have to fulfill, and if you don't do your share, then there is a letter in the Sefer Torah that is missing, then all of Klal Yisrael suffer. However, the Levim were given the additional Hashras Hashchina because it was their job to help direct the rest of Klal Yisrael and to point out to each person what his tafkid is. They had to be mamshech the Hashras Hashchina in the Mishkan so that a person from Shevet Dan and a person from Shevet Yehuda should understand that when he is counted into Klal Yisrael, this is your chelik HaTorah, this is what you have to accomplish on this world, and therefore make sure that when Shavuos comes and you are makabel the Torah, you are makabel upon yourself with all of your essence to do what you're supposed to do. And because the Levim were given this authority, they were given a higher level of Kedusha. And it was incumbent upon Klal Yisrael to respect that Kedusha. It was also equally as necessary for the Levim to understand that when you are given a sphere of influence, you can use it the right way and indeed help to direct others to what they are supposed to accomplish on this world, or you can focus on yourself and your power will be your undoing. And the authority that was given to you to represent Kedusha can unfortunately be twisted, and you will be representing just the opposite of Kedusha. Rav Schwab Chaim Lezracha spent a Shabbos by the Chavetz Chaim, and the Chavetz Chaim asked him whether he was a Kohen. And Rav Schwab said no. So the Chavetz Chaim said, why not? So Rav Schwab, knowing the Chavetz Chaim obviously wanted to get to something, simply responded, because my father wasn't a Kohen. And the Chavetz Chaim said to him, so why wasn't your father a Kohen? So he said, because his father wasn't a Kohen. And why wasn't his father a Kohen? At this point, Rav Schwab says, I thought I had best just be quiet. So the Chavetz Chaim said to him, I'll tell you why your father wasn't a Kohen and your grandfather wasn't a Kohen. Because my great-great-great-grandfather, when Moshe Rabbeinu yelled out after the Chet HaEgel, Mil Hashem Elai, so my great-great-grandfather went running. And even though he was going against the popular sentiment of the time, and even though he would be turning against his own relatives, but he went with Mesiras Nefesh. And so that for Doirei Doireis, he and his children and his children's children are Kohanim and Levim. And the Chavetz Chaim went on to explain to Rav Schwab that this is true for everybody. We're living in turbulent times, we're living in very uncertain times, and in every person's life there is going to come a time where you will hear a baskar, Mil Hashem Elai. Now, do you have the courage to go against the stream and to do what's right and to do what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants? And if you do that, you will acquire an inherent Kedusha for yourself and for your children forever after. And the Levim had this special Kedusha. They were born with the Kedusha. But they had to know, and especially subsequent generations who were born into it and didn't necessarily work for it, had to know that there are dangers that come with this Kedusha as well. And therefore, the Ata Hafkid es Halaviyim al Mishkan Ha'edus, and remind them of the pasuk of Hafkid al Avrash. Because if in their hearts, if milmaila, they are aware of the fact that their authority can be the greatest symbol of bracha or the greatest symbol of klala, if they're just aware of that, in the depth of their heart, then they're going to be okay. Then they'll be careful. Now you may ask, if indeed Rav Schwab was not a Levi, so why was the Chavetz Chaim giving him the message? And the answer is clear. The Chavetz Chaim Beruach Kachai knew that Rav Schwab was Muchen Lagadlus, and therefore the Kedusha of the Leviim in certain ways is really not just reserved for Leviim. The Rambam says in Perik Yud Gimel of Hilchos Shemitah v'Yarvim Halacha Yud Gimel, quote, "V'lo Shevet Levi Bilvad." It's not just Shevet Levi that you're mechuyev to support, that you are mechuyev to put up on a pedestal. Ela kol ish v'ish mikol boi oila. Any person from anywhere, asher nagzul ruchay oisai, who is suddenly spirited into saying, I'm going to separate myself from this world. I am not going to spend my life thinking about how I am going to make that extra dollar. I am going to commit myself to the Rebbeinu Shalom, to Torah, to helping Klal Yisrael. Automatically, harei is Kadesh Kodesh Kedash. That's the Lashon of the Rambam. And Kadosh Baruch Hu will always be part of this person. The Yiskalei and the will give to this person the Olam Hazeh, down here in this world. Dabar HaMaspik Loi K'moshe Zocha L'Kayhanim L'Leviim. Hashem will give him what he needs the same way Kadosh Baruch Hu made sure that the Kayhanim and the Leviim should be taken care of. And the Chavetz Chaim told the Schwab, look out, because it can come in a split second that the sign of Mila Shem Elai, and you will have to make a decision. Do you have the courage to go against the popular waves? And if you do, you will be a Kayin and a Levi forever after. And what the Baal HaTurim is saying, even after you become a Kayin and Levi, you still have to be careful to make sure that your newfound authority goes to your heart and not to your head. The Be'er Moshe has an alternate shot in what the Baal HaTurim possibly means by connecting the Ata Hafkid Etzaluvim, Al Mishkan HaEdos, and the pasuk of Hafkid Olav Rasha. This is an encouragement to us. It's a chizuk. In every generation when the Rishayim rise up to be mekatrik against us, the Kadosh Baruch Hu will also prepare a tzaddik of equal caliber to be loichem on the tzaddikai. So don't worry about the Rasha, because the Ata Hafkid, the Salaviyim, the Kadosh Baruch Hu prepared a tzaddik to neutralize it.
Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe bamidbar Sinai bi'oil moed. The Medrash asks an interesting question. Lama bamidbar Sinai? Why midbar Sinai? And for the Medrash, Mikan Shanu Chachamim, the Gimel Dvar Mitna Torah. The Torah was given to us with three things. The Medrash is saying this in the context of with three tools that we have in order to be able to absorb the Torah. The Torah was given to us be'esh, in fire, b'mayim, in water, or bamidbar, and in the desert. These are three necessary components in order for us to be able to understand Torah. B'esh menayin, how do we know the Torah was given to us through fire? V'hasinai oshan kulai. Or b'mayim menayin, how do we know the Torah was given to us through water? The Medrash quotes the pasuk in Shoftim, the heavens and the clouds drip water. Or b'midbar menayin, how do we know the Torah was given to us? Bamidbar. For the pasuk says in this week's Sedra, Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe bamidbar Sinai. Now, what do you mean, how do we know the Torah was given in the Midbar? If not for the Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe bamidbar Sinai, we wouldn't know that the Torah was given bamidbar? We did learn Parshas Shemais, we did learn Parshas Yisrael, we did learn all about Yetzias Mitzrayim, we know where the Torah was given. And furthermore, what is the common denominator over here? What is the connection between fire, water, and Midbar? So the Medrash answers that. What's the connection over here of Eish, Mayim, and Midbar, and why is that somehow a prerequisite to Kabbalah Satire? And for the Medrash, what does fire, water, and desert have in common? They're for free. It's for free. So too the words of Torah, they're for free. It doesn't cost any money. Shenemer, as the pasuk says, concludes the Medrash, all thirsty people come and drink. And that refers to the words of Torah. Now, I don't know about you, but when I hear the word free, I hold on to my wallet. When a telemarketer calls and stumbles over your name and then says, we have a free offer for you. So you know right away, if you don't want this to cost any money, you politely hang up. Because if you're going to continue to listen to that free offer, that cost entire. That free is usually going to turn out to be very expensive. what does the medrash mean over here? That fire, water, and midbar are for free. Is fire for free? I mean, think about it. The whole economy of the world evolves around the price of a barrel of oil, the price of fire, the price of energy. Is water for free? Have you taken a look at your water meter lately? Is a midbar for free? There's no country today in the world that's going to move into a midbar and just put up their flag and not get some opposition from whoever is there currently. So what is the meaning over here of free? Okay, free you can say means readily available. But is the Torah readily available? It is. But on the other hand, it takes a lot of mesirus nefesh, a lot of perseverance, a lot of fighting with the Yetzer Hara to really get a geschmack into learning. Let's try to put all of this into perspective. The word free can have different connotations. And I'd like to approach it from a different angle. What does the word chein mean? When you say someone is a b'cheiniftika person, translate the word chein. It's hard to find the right word. You can say favor, you can say charisma, but none of those words really does justice to the true meaning of the word chein. What does it mean when someone has chein? It means like this. Beryl calls you up and says, can I hitch a ride with you to Muncie? And you say, great, I'm looking for company. I'm so excited you're coming along. And then Getzel calls you up and says, can I hitch a ride with you to the Chassan in Muncie? And you say, well, I'm not sure if I have place. I guess so. And you think to yourself, no, it's an idiot to do Chassan. Beryl introduces himself as your new roommate in yeshiva, and you say, Shalom Aleichem, I can't believe how lucky I got. And then Getzel comes into the room with the dorm counselor, and you try not to roll your eyes, and you say, hi Getzel, I guess this is your bed here on the corner. Beryl has chein, obviously, and Getzel is lacking chein. Some people walk in, they start talking, everyone listens. Some people walk in, they start talking, and everyone excuses themselves. Although both of them may be saying the same thing, although both of them may be equally as intelligent. Chein is a bracha. It's a bracha. That people like you. It's hard to find the right word. It's something that you can't buy, explains Rav Shimshon Fulhers. It's something you can be mispalel for, then it's a chein the ein elokim the other. But you can't buy it. You can't purchase it. I heard of a politician that ran for a high office, and he lacked charisma. So someone showed me an article that he went and he hired therapists that taught him how to smile and how to talk. And he hired PR people and professionals that taught him how to walk, how to go up on a stage and how to come down on a stage, how to shake people's hands, how to tilt his head. He took $500 haircuts and bought the most expensive suits, and he had designers that picked his tie. But he still was dull, and he lost the election. You can't buy chein. You can buy a $1,000 suit, you can buy a $1,000 watch, you can buy a $1,000 set of shoes, I guess. But you can't buy chein. It's a bracha min hashemayim. That's why, says Rav Shimshon Fulhers, the word chein is the same shorish as the word chinam. Chinam means for free, but chinam also means there's no reason. There's nothing here you can get a hold of. There's nothing you can attach it to. We look at free as easily accessible. But the term chinam also means nothing. It also means, as Rav Shimshon Fulhers explains, abarabba. Because it's free, it's not easily accessible. It's either it's available to you or it's not available to you. But all the money in the world can't purchase it. That's the connection between chein and chinam. If you can forgive the analogy, sometimes a company will try to get you to sign up to a subscription, and they'll offer you a gift. And the gift will be some kind of a tchotchke or some kind of a new invention, which you can't buy on the market. Because if you can buy it on the market, there's no kids. But if it's something, even though it's not all that expensive, but it's cute, and it's practical, and it's convenient, and it's new, and the only way to get it is by subscribing, so we're saying, here, subscribe with us, and we'll give you this for free. This free is very expensive. because you have to subscribe to whatever this person is offering in order to get it. But it entices you because you can't buy it, because it's only available for free. Very often in class, you want to make a goyel. Whoever chazes the Gemara about Peh Shabbos is going to go into a goyel for what? For $1, for a bag of potato chips. Today's children have bigger hasagas. But sometimes you get something which is cheap, but it's cute, and they don't know where to buy it. But you found it someplace in the catalog, and everyone will do anything for it because it's for free. They can't buy it. This is the only way they can get it. So you see how the word free can mean different things? Eish, Mayim, and Midbar are bechinam. What does bechinam mean? Zachar Eliezer explains. Eish represents the koach of taiva that burns within us, a craving. And when a person has a craving for something or a temptation for something, who knows what he could do? Kina taiva v'kavod v'tzinas adam in ha'olam. For jealousy, for taiva, for kavod, a person will turn over the world. He'll display koachas you never believed he has. By the same token, every person has within him a koach of mayim. Mayim is atzlus, in a sense. Calmness, a sense of serenity. If someone's blood pressure is very high, doctors may suggest go to the water, relax a little bit. It's relaxing. Slows you down. In order to learn Torah, to be Mekayim mitzvahs, you have to employ the koachos of Eish and the koach of Mayim. When it comes to the mitzvahs of faith, the bread of the fire. When it comes to davening, when it comes to learning, when it comes to doing chesed with a cheshik, with a geschmack, with a bren, when it comes to staying away from aveiros and aveira, tell the Yitzhar tomorrow, here's the koach of Mayim. Nah, it's not for me. I'll turn away. I'll push it off until it goes away. Every person has within it the koach of Eish and the koach of Mayim. The problem isn't so much that it's not available to you. The problem is you don't know how to use it. Yes, there's a koach of Eish that burns within me for me to go out and accomplish things, but how do I know I'm doing the right thing? You have people that think they're doing mitzvahs with a tremendous koach of Eish who run through the streets and they break windows and scream and be a kanai, you Russia. But as far as the Rebbeinu Shem is concerned, there's nothing able to chil Hashem. Then you can have people that are supposed to perform a mitzvah now and jump in with Mesilas Nefesh and Enochanami. Sometimes there was a time that you have to be moich and scream, and instead you say, nah, I don't want to get involved, it's not right, it could lead to Lashon Hara, to Rechilus, let me sit back and relax. So what if he's doing an Aveira? So what if my neighbor's child is speaking to the wrong people? I don't want to get involved. It's an idea to stay out of machlokes. Here you employ the koach of Mayim. So a person can think he's exercising his Eish in the right manner and his Mayim in the right manner, and he's doing exactly the opposite. So how do we have the hadracha to take the koach of Eish that naturally is within us and the koach of Mayim that is naturally within us and apply it to the right things? That indeed we employ the Eish for the power of mitzvahs and the Mayim to extinguish aveiros. The answer is the third component, and that is midbar. The reason we don't see things clearly sometimes, and we indeed confuse mitzvahs for aveiros and aveiros for mitzvahs, is because it's key the time of the cover that gets in our way. The person is jealous, the person seeks honor and recognition, seeks his own temptations. So sometimes we mix religion in and we try to so-called perform mitzvahs, but really it's our own Yetzer Hara that's driving us. It has nothing to do with the mitzvah. But if we can remove that key, the time of a kavite, if we can be Masalik, our Negiah, and say, the Rebbeinu Shalom, what do you want me to do? Then we'll find the Eish and Mayim and apply it to the right things. A friend of mine was once sent by his company out of town, whether he should have gone, whether he shouldn't have gone. So he wrote to me, he says he's terribly frustrated. Why? He says they gave him this big, beautiful ranch house. A tremendously beautiful house. Maybe 20 rooms. Huge lawn. He says in Borough Park, for the price that this house costed, I couldn't have gotten half a closet. And look over here, I could have an army in my house. So I said to him, so why are you frustrated? So he said, because there's no one here to see it. So what does it accomplish? I can't even show it to anyone. I'm all alone here. Besides to the other problems of being alone with no other Yidden. The inyan of a midbar is there's very little kina time of a covered in a midbar. You're jealous in a midbar? Of who? Of a cactus? There's no one else there, just sand and sun. Taiva in a midbar? In a midbar, people are worried about getting water and surviving. The pachad extinguishes any kind of taiva. Covered in a midbar? What covered? You can have a big billboard and your name is in blazing lights, Sadik Valier. Of what use is it if there's no one there to see it, if you're alone in the desert? It's just even more frustrating. You finally got your name in lights and there's no one to see it but yourself. The concept of midbar represents the idea of no negiyas over here. You're standing in the desert, it's between you and the Rebbeinu Shalom. Now if you can work on that and be in a midbar, even though you're not in a midbar, you know the famous story the Satmar went to the Chazon Ish and he said to him, the Rambam says if you're in a place of Rishayim, you have to run to the midbar, how can you stay here? And the Chazon Ish said, so what's the midbar? The midbar is the yeshiva. Our yeshivas are our midbaros. If we run into a midbar and we can remove our negiyas and we don't look at things in terms of where am I going to get more honor or more kavod or more money, then automatically the eish and the mayim, which doesn't cost any money, but until now it was not available to us because we didn't know how to use it, because we confused our own personal negiyas with mitzvahs. But once you're in the midbar, suddenly you have a feel for what's real kiddusha, and you use that koyach ha'esh within you to perform the mitzvahs, and you use the koyach of mayim within you to extinguish averos. Something can be readily available to you, it doesn't cost any money, but if you don't have access to it or you don't know how to use it, it's useless. These three things are b'china, they're free. Eish, mayim, and midbar, and they're the most important components of your life. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is teaching us how to access these things. You can't buy it for any money in the world. Yet the frustration is it's there, you have it, but you have to be taught how to access it and how to use it. Yes, the Torah was given to us in Parshas Yisrael, but in Parshas Bamidbar, Klal Yisrael positions themselves. Ish al dig like the oitzes of Esav Yachnu b'nei Yisrael. The Medrash says that when the HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed himself in Har Sinai, myriads of malachim came down, and they were all positioned, proudly holding their flags. And the Yidden looked at that with envy. We want that too. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, you want flags? Chayechem, shani memalim v'shalesechem, I'll give it to you. You see, malachim have a clear-cut mission in life. A malach is told what he has to do, he's told who he has to group with, and what he has to accomplish. There are no distortion, there are no distractions, there are no taivas that confuse mitzvahs for averos. When the Yidden saw the malachim positioned, they were envious of this. They said, Rebbeinu Shalom, for them their mission is so clear. We would also love to know clearly what our mission in life is. If only a Yid had a printout and said, this is what you have to accomplish in life, wouldn't that make things so much easier? So the Rebbeinu Shalom said, Yidden, I'll give it to you. You can also have the Degalim here in the Midbar. How? How can I have such a clear, definitive spelling out of what my mission in life is? To know exactly which banner I have to raise? Where my camp is? By understanding the parsha of the Midbar. Recognize your karchis of Eish, recognize your karchis of Mayim, and then look to be Nisalik your negiyas. Open your heart and offer a tefillah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rebbeinu Shalom. Please, help me know, help me understand, direct me and guide me to where you want me to be, and don't let me confuse my own temptations for mitzvahs, my own taivos for the Ratzon Hashem, and don't allow me to mix up jealousy and kanois and giving musa. Study the situation. Think, what do I have to personally gain over here? And if you can remove yourself from that, then you're in the midbar. And then suddenly you will find this Eish and Mayim that is there. It's for free. It's available to you, but till now you just didn't know how to access it. That is why this parasha of the Golem, this parasha of Eish, Mayim, and Midbar is always read before Shavuos. On Shavuos, Hashem reassigns our missions. Each year on Shavuos there's another Kabbalah Satayah. But Hashem gives us the mission. That doesn't mean that we read it properly. It is the week before Shavuot that we have to be mispal to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Help us differentiate between the confusion of the big city and the pureness of the midbar. And then automatically, I'll know what to do. I don't have to go out and acquire it because you already gave me my Eish and my Mayim.
This shiur is distributed by Kolodas, 11 Steichenet Street, Yerushalayim. For donations, please call 02-5383-999. Fax 02-538-0267. Postbox 57035.